Good day, podcast community. PeteKane here, community builder and podcaster. And I got a special guest from a little bit south of us who is in a pretty cool place, and he's a storyteller. And we love that what he's doing in the educational space. That's what we called it, the Education Matters. So we're going to hear from Mike. Mike, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into our podcast.
Sure, I heard that introduction. I said, "Where? Who's he talking about?" I guess he must be talking about me. Right. Well, who I serve? Well, let me go the easy way first. Here in Lima, Peru, I serve university students at University Antonio Ruiz de Montoya in Pueblo Libre here in Lima. Actually, I work virtually. In fact, I had a couple classes this morning, so I have my flashcards here. So in the morning, I serve university students to teach them language. And if I can teach stubborn Peruvian teenagers how to conjugate verbs, I can teach stubborn business owners how to promote their business. Yes. And that's my other thing. And here you can see last it says certified world-class speaking coach. And that's it's never enough to hang your hat on your credentials. Yeah. But I like the logo there. That's what I do. So speaking coach. And in what I do, if you've got something to say and nothing to prove, the speaking world, people promote businesses by putting too many formalities out there when they speak. They come from corporate boardrooms, and all they care about is that you have nice looking PowerPoints as you put the audience to sleep. Or they come from academia or get into education. There's a difference between education and the ivory towers of academia. Those two sides don't get along too well. And then again, there's something about a structured academic presentation. And then even worse, and I might offend some people here, I certainly hope so, TEDx is a four-letter word, and not the good kind, where every word is scripted and every movement is staged. Listen, these talks have their purpose. If you've endured terrible abuse and that led to addiction and you're the road to recovery, you can inspire other people, by all means do it. But most people do a TED talk to say that they did it, and then they never talk about it again. They spent probably $10,000 between coaching and application and travel and everything else to stand on a bath mat with 2 rows of folding chairs to say, "Let me tell you about the time I overcame the odds." It's garbage. And I'm here. Scrap iron storytelling is real, raw, bare bones. People willing to show their vulnerability, to show their realness instead of looking down on an audience. They get down with their audience on eye level, show them who they really are, show real vulnerabilities, so the audience puts genuine trust in that person as a business leader.
You know, I didn't realize that the scripted nature of it and just the process until I was in a conversation with Brendan Bouchard, who certified me as a high performance coach. And you know, he's all over the place, but he won't do one for that reason.
Good.
You know, and it was like, you know, because I do live events, and early on, a couple of years ago, I would say, it's preparing you for a TED Talk. You know, they were doing 5-minute talks. And then all of a sudden I got that message, and then I started asking people, was your TED Talk scripted? Oh yeah. Did you was it expensive? Oh yeah. You know, so they were confirming that journey, and I kind of changed my mindset. Good. But I want to get back to what you said about communication, because I study the brain and I try to keep things simple. What do you think people get wrong when it comes to communicating effectively?
Okay, you want to keep it simple with that question. We can make that simple, but I like to make it complicated. Let's start simple. I think that a lot of people communicate trying to put on a facade for themselves. And that's why so many people open a presentation with, "Let me tell you a little something about myself." From there, you might as well be Charlie Brown's teacher. You're not there to talk about you. In some cases, if you're somebody you've been through, you've been in a POW camp. If you were kidnapped by the Taliban, then you can come out and say, "Let me tell you about what happened to me." But in most cases, it's about the audience. The reason why we're here, I've got plenty of cool things to tell you about me. That's not why we're here. We're here because there's a community out there that's about education and development and training good communication. We're here for you watching this now. I want to talk about me. And then what do? They share their slides. There's always a controversy over slides. Sometimes you need them. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you rely on them. But it's, let me share my slide. And hey, look, it's a picture of me. Well, what am I supposed to be looking at? The real you or the picture of you? And guess what that person is doing in the picture? Giving a TED Talk. And in the TED Talk, they're showing a slide of themselves. And so what am I supposed to be looking at? You, the picture of you, or the picture of you? And then here come the bullet points. I'm a thought leader. I'm a best-selling author of a book that I sold 10 copies of on Amazon for $1 each. And now I'm a best-selling author, and I'm a something. Okay, well, and then now we're going to share my information. And then at the end, you people, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. And you wonder why you don't engage. The most important word, I'm going to have these flashcards out here. Okay, I happen to have my subject pronouns. And look at this. The most important word in the English language is this: you. Put that focus on the audience. And so many people are up there either trying to prove themselves because they feel inferior to the audience, or they're trying to assert dominance because they put themselves above the audience. Put the focus on them, what you can do for them, why they're in that audience.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, like, when you started on this journey, what got you to this point? Was it something that you got interested in, or was it some person that came alongside you and shared what that person thought was what you did very well? How did you get to this point?
All right, well, tell you what. I'm going to be 50 this year, so you pick a decade. 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50. Pick a decade, and I'll give you the answer. Go ahead, Pete. Go for it.
Let's go to you're in your 40s. At what point, yes,
okay,
did you start on this journey?
Well, as we're recording this, it's June of 2026. And a little over 6 years ago, a little friend came and paid us a visit. And we got put on lockdown. Now, I love teaching. I don't love the academic bureaucracy. And me being the Spanish-speaking gringo here in Peru, they always had me doing little assignments, little side things, being the face of the institute. And I really felt disrespected. And I said something. Meanwhile, anytime I asked them for something, they said no. But they asked me to do something, I really felt like I was being abused. So I said, okay, start the countdown. This is not my destiny. This is not my happily ever after. So I was like, What is that thing? I'm looking for something. I thought it would be something fitness related because I do have a background in that. I know I have a lot of potential. And then once our little friend came and paid us a visit, had a lot of time on lockdown. I was looking for things to do just to keep ourselves occupied. If you happen to have an online course in early 2020, it was a good time because people were enrolling in stuff. A lot of introspection, a lot of internal reflection. And I thought of maybe doing a corporate wellness business. And then the next thing, I got an email from Craig Valentine. If you're involved in Toastmasters, you know the name. He was the world champion of public speaking back in 1999. I heard him on a CD a long time ago, back when we were hearing things on CDs. I said, that's the guy. I said, there's something about him. I said, God help us all if I ever meet him. We said, I'm doing this course. It's reasonably priced. It's on storytelling. I'll check it out. And that's when I realized that when I first started in Toastmasters 25 years ago, I was in my mid-20s, and the whole world ran on my opinion. And once I ran out of opinions, I ran out of material. And I saw the layer of storytelling and how complex it can be and how many different angles of telling stories. Going chronologically is not good enough. Starting by setting the scene, the sun was shining, the clouds had swept away, and the dust was blowing, and the humma. And then I went to the store and I bought a sandwich and went home. There's so many traditional ways of telling stories chronologically by describing details that don't matter. And Craig really opened up the three you to mention, to add so many techniques in storytelling that are not really used. And then once that was over, it's like, I was wondering why it was so affordable. Well, the next one is the coaching class. The whole way is like, my students in the certified world-class coach speaking coach course, we do this. And then it's like, oh, that sounds pretty tough. I don't know if I'm ready for that. And at the end, it's like, by the way, the next course is running in a couple of months, and I want you to be part of it. I'm like, Craig. And he knows that I tease him the same way. What next? Got certified as a speaking coach, and through that, that's where it got started. So it's been a rough journey. I originally set this up to coach people in the fitness industry. So if you work in fitness, if you have a facility, you should be using that facility to host events, to bring an audience and to present. Turns out that demographic's a little too narrow. If you're in that field, you know where to find me. We'll get it done. But it's a little too narrow, so Scrap Iron Storytelling is the new brand. That's where I got started. I started to meet all these solo business owners who are following the tradition saying, I am a speaker, I am a TED speaker, and still don't know how to speak. That's where I came to. That's my journey in the 40s, from teaching to feeling disrespected to having time to introspect, to learning from the right people, to meeting people who need my service, and ta-da, here we are.
You hear the hero's journey and storytelling, to bring the person in as a hero. How does your style either parallel, or what do you think about that philosophy?
The hero's journey is for your overall brand, not for your story. Two different things. The reason you buy an iPhone, you buy an Apple product, you're buying a little motherboard from Woz in his garage back in 1977. You're buying the story. Okay, you get a Big Mac, you're buying the vision of Ray Kroc. You're buying KFC, you're buying Colonel Sanders selling that chicken recipe door-to-door, restaurant to restaurant until he made it big. You are buying the story brand. That should be part of your broader marketing, your hero's journey. And well, the hero's journey, and those are two different things. Yes, you want that audience to feel like a hero. When you're speaking, it's not explicitly promoting your company. It's not explicitly, your messaging should be bigger than your business. So the hero's journey is more of a broader branding than it is an individual presentation. And I think there's a lot of disconnect. Another one of those certifications gets story brand certified. And it's like, let's do it the way I was taught in this story branding course. And then you get on stage, what happens? Imagine you're climbing. Actually, I can't seem to imagine that. So no, it's very good. It's very important as long as you use it in the right place. I'm glad you asked that. I mean, that's been on my mind for a long time, and nobody's asked me.
Well, I've had a lot of guests, and you get different perspectives of things, and it's helped my curiosity muscle a lot by just having different people from different countries, different backgrounds, all having things to do that impacts people's lives. What do you think? I follow a gentleman by the name of Daniel Priestley who talks about people buy from people. They don't buy from companies. What do you think when it comes to communicating that in business? Have you ever heard that? And do you subscribe to people buy from people, or do you have a different twist to it?
That depends on what business it is. If you're in real estate, yes, they don't buy from Century 21 or Remax or Keller Williams. They buy from the agents. That's absolutely true. In Burger King, they don't buy from Lance the cashier. They buy from the Burger King. It depends on what the business is. And that's a double-edged sword. You want to present your best. You want to be your best because you play a role in it. But you also don't want to overshadow what they're really buying. People are buying an iPhone. They're buying an iPhone. They're not buying it from the salesperson, to stay out of the way and enable the purchase and not play a role. In what I do as a speaking coach, something, to be honest, I thought that people were going to buy me because I'm so cool. They buy your systems. They buy the result. They buy the process. You are a piece of it, but it's not enough. You're absolutely right that people buy people, as long as they come with the right product, the right process, the right empathy, the right everything. So, and that's a double-edged sword, because what I came back to before, let me show you how great I am because you're going to buy from me. You play a major role in it, but don't discount what you offer, your product knowledge. We see people buy people, yes, but they don't buy your resume. They buy your product knowledge, they buy your empathy, they buy your systems. So they buy all these elements of who you are, not just, hey, you know something, Pete, you're cool. Whatever you're selling, I'll buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, true. What do you think when you moved to South America, you said 12 years ago?
13. I'll be under the desk.
So when that first year after relocating there, what was that like, and what was the toughest thing you had to overcome? Was it the language? Was it the culture? What was that journey like?
Well, the hardest thing to overcome, I can put it in song. The worst person I know, mother-in-law. Now that's universal.
Yes.
My marriage is the smartest decision I ever made. I don't know if I blinked when I said that, but I meant it. However, it comes with a little excess, and that was tough. We came here to Lima for a short while, then we went up to Cusco, gateway to Machu Picchu. That was my first job. They offer, yeah, why not? My wife isn't going to see this. Let's air it out. And if she does, she won't understand it. I got offered a pretty good job there, an administrative position. And then she had a good job there at a hospital there. We were loving life, but she wanted to go back to Lima. She swore she had all these opportunities, and they weren't there. So I spent 3 months there in Cusco. It was great. We were loving life, but it was still tough because, well, it was just tough, the whole family dynamic.
Yes.
And then we went back to Lima. There was really nothing for me here. And then we went up to another place up north called Talara. It's up north desert. It stinks like sulfur because that's where the oil refinery is. I loved it. I would have stayed there forever. But for whatever reason, we didn't stay there. I guess there's no really reason to make that our permanent home, but I loved it. And then back to Lima, and it was doing, just trying to find work here and there. Like in one day, I could work 3 or 4 different places.
Mm-hmm.
And that's right. And so that was part of it, is establishing, workplace, schedule, living situation, living in 3 different provinces in less than a year. That was getting adapted. After 2 years, I got a job at a really good institute. I stayed there for 6 years. The reason I left to talk about it before is the academic bureaucracy was too much. So day to day, it was a great place to work. Mm-hmm. But at its Golden Palace, I hear some background. Is that me or you?
I don't hear
some feedback.
Yeah, it must be you. Okay. I don't hear anything here.
Okay, well, it doesn't come through on the podcast.
Yeah,
we're good.
It appears that it's not.
Okay. Well, one thing, I got better Wi-Fi than I did when I first moved here, so better online access. I feel more connected, and that's part of Zoom. When we're more connected now. There was a lot more distance back then. I really felt like I was far from home. So that was it. Moving around a lot, adapting to the family dynamic, and that was.
What do you think? You hear all this about AI, and it's coming in, and it's been in, but how are you using it in what you do, and what's your experience been?
If you use spell check, you use AI. Okay, spell check, grammar check. You've been using AI for a long time. If you're talking about these open source platforms that, in health class, they warned us about open source a long time ago, and it has the same caveat. Be careful going into these platforms. Now, there are AI-powered speaking coach applications, and I can tell you they're garbage. Mm-hmm. One in particular, I'm not going to say the name. I want to, but I'm not going to. I recited Shakespeare, what little Shakespeare I know. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace. I could do the whole thing, but I'm not trying to show off. This thing flagged me for redundancy, for saying tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. You think if the platform were more intelligent, it would recognize that it was William Shakespeare?
Yeah.
But then apparently the non-inclusive feature was triggered because I was using ableist language. Apparently, when Macbeth said that life is a tale told by an idiot, he's using ableist language that might be offensive to some idiots out there. I brought this to the attention of the platform creators. Like, well, experts in academia say that. Oh, then it must be true. You deal with the same stupid bureaucracy in cyberland that you do in the real world. So it is not capable of critical thinking. I'm telling you, I'm putting together a high ticket thing right now. If I go to ChatGPT and say, what should I do? It'll go, and it doesn't ask you questions. And maybe you have to prompt it to ask you the right questions, but it doesn't inherently ask questions. It's not capable of critical thinking. It's great for sorting information. You go to a networking group with 100 people putting their contact information in, you save the chat, it comes up in a text document, copy and paste that text document in a ChatGPT, get your contact information and go to work. It's great for sorting information, not for critical thinking.
Yeah.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
No, I love that because my partner, who's up in Canada, this was 3-4 years ago, and he had been doing a lot with AI, and he kept saying, "Hey, Pete, what are you doing with AI?" And I said, "I don't have time for that stuff." And then, he kept asking, and when I put a course together 4 years ago, I'm dyslexic and ADHD, so writing was never my skill set, but it gave me a very good framework. And then, of course, I worked with it and put the human to it. And you always say HI will always trump AI because critical thinking. You got to be critical thinking. I hang out in my Rotary Club with a lot of people from the university, and I'll ask them, and they're saying that, too many of the students are totally dependent on AI.
Of course, that's the teacher's fault. That is the teacher's fault.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't have any problem because that is true. It depends on who's leading the discussion, and you don't say never use it. I don't want you to ever use it. You have to say, I want you to think all the way through, because you'll always have that and it'll always be different. But to just kind of just put it on autopilot and almost like that doom scrolling that a lot of us fall into, that we just stop creating our stuff. How do you stay creative in your space?
Well, I wanted to ask you how, I don't know about dyslexia, but ADHD. I was ADHD before H was standard, when it was optional. Okay, they don't know. That's another reason why I don't like this. Didn't you tell chat, listen, I've got ADHD and dyslexia, give me one prompt at a time? You say, give me some ideas, and you get 27. Here you go, here's your course. By the time I get through that, I get to number 7. I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to get triggered. I'm going to go do a web search. Oh, that reminds me of a song. I'm going to check out that song. I'm going down some rabbit holes. So I don't think that platform understands neurodivergence. So I don't. That's a knock in itself. That now, if there's a platform specifically for people with neurodivergence, then I can understand that. The people tend to hang their hats. We're talking about students depending on it and the creativity behind it. The teacher should be able to outpace, outsmart. I saw there's somebody out there named AJ Giuliani. He's a teacher. He talks about AI all the time and how to incorporate it without running from it. If you're a good teacher, you shouldn't be intimidated by the technology. You shouldn't worry about being overtaken. There are ways to do it. What AJ said in one thing, and I had thought of it before, but he's the one who published it. If somebody submits a paper, go through it, run that through an AI platform, and pull out a 10-question quiz. Comprehension, give them that test. So here you go. If you use ChatGPT for your sentence structure or as a thesaurus, by all means do it. It's a teaching tool. If somebody just give me a 5-paragraph essay, give me a 3-page paper, and they turn it in, and part of the paragraph says could not find additional information, ... you know you're going to burn them for that. If these kids are outsmarting you, you deserve to be played and they deserve their grade. If you know how to beat the system, if you know how to outsmart your teacher, you deserve a good grade. So I have no sympathy for teachers complaining about AI and we should stop it and we should fight back against Skynet. I have no sympathy. I teach English as a foreign language. I know when students are using AI, when they can't crank out a single word in a conversation and they write me these beautiful paragraphs. You're not going to pull it. You're going to get that on me.
Yeah. What do you think when it comes? I've noticed that, because technology has been around, you have your screens, you have your devices. Some of the people I'll have conversations with, younger, I don't think they've developed the reps to have that communication back and forth. They'll just kind of look at me with a stare, and I'll start asking them questions to get it going. What do you think the devices and technology, how has that affected in what you're seeing communication?
Again, my activism, everybody's got a hashtag, everybody's got a colored ribbon. My activism in the world is I don't have a cell phone. That's my radical counterculture. That's what I do. And that's the example I set. Because I don't like it. I don't like people depending on it. I don't like but I don't think it's a young people thing. I think my generation, the Gen Xers, are no better. Baby boomers are no better. The old. In fact, 10 years ago for Christmas, I got an iPad and I still have it. And I opened this up and the betrayal. And my father said, "Son, you need to get with the times and learn the technology." He's pre-boomer. He was born in 42. That's right. I said it out loud. So it's not kids these days. It's everybody. Yes. I don't. Every generation, the opportunities to do great things and do terrible things go in opposite directions. I'm a Gen Xer. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. We were the first people with cable TV and video games. We can sit around and get fat and lazy if we want. We also had gym memberships that baby boomers didn't have. We also had lots of sports to play. If you didn't like baseball, you could play tennis. You could do wrestling, football, basketball, ice, hockey. We had far more sports and activities in the previous generation. Kids today, they have the technology. They can sit around all day scrolling and tapping and scrolling and tapping. They also have better exercise equipment, better information, more sports to play, more inspiration, extreme sports. They have things that we didn't have growing up. So it goes in both directions. And I would say the same thing applies to communication. Yeah, these kids are on their devices. They're also meeting friends in Germany, in Japan, in Africa. Okay, so you're a teenager who has no social skills because they don't know how to walk into a store and look the clerk in the eye and order a sandwich. That person knows what's happening in Mozambique. That person knows what's happening in the Middle East. So it works in both directions. I grew up, I had no idea how small my world was until we moved 5 miles away and I didn't know how to get there. So everything's a give and take. Yes, there are certain social skills that diminish, formalities go away, but kids are still kids. They still love to go out and play and talk and do things. I agree that there should be some.
I had 2 hernia surgeries in 1 year. I mean, in a year period. And I was in the waiting room the second time. And most of the people there are over 65, 70. But I counted and there was 16 people in the waiting room. 14 of them were on their phone. These were older people. I don't say it's just young. It's definitely all the way up to the, as old as you get. I gave up social media and I don't use the phone like I used to. My brain is healthier than it's ever been. What do you do? What's your go-to to think? How do you critical think?
Well, obviously being a communicator, let's see. My go-to, obviously writing, because when I close this laptop, I have my curfew and I've broken it. Just last night, I closed the laptop at about 11 o'clock. And I'm like, that's it. Of course, I couldn't sleep. I opened it up. It was 1:00 in the morning. I'm like, oh man, I'm going on Pete's podcast tomorrow. Obviously, writing. And when you're people like us, and it's just that you have to make the systems more extreme. So I'm going to show you here. I've got this little shelf thing here. This top shelf is where I keep my blank paper. Well, this is the blank paper here. And then I rip them in half and make the smaller sheets. I just grab and start writing. This is a book here in Spanish about, well, spiritual presences and ghosts and stuff. Anyway, the point being, I've got my paper right here. I've got everything organized. I've got this little thingy to organize everything I write in. And I keep this notebook. And something I've started doing lately is haiku. Just because, I'm not really a poet, but I don't like just, if some people say journal, and I used to get up in the morning and journal. It was all gibberish because I was half asleep, So what I do is I write haiku, and I started making memes out of it. And that's a creative expression. And it's a departure from writing speeches. Here's one. I just did this yesterday in line with what we were talking about.
Okay.
Let's talk about me. Then I'll read my PowerPoints. New people come last. I've got so many here. Let's see. Here we go. You're going to like this one. Are you ready?
Okay. Fire away.
I'm the second best public speaker in the world. The rest tie for first.
I like that. Hey, can I give you credit the first time and then take that and use it as my own? Because I like that. I like
just
that.
My most recent LinkedIn post is about somebody stealing my speech and how proud I was. Very angry at first, but how proud I am now.
Yes. So what do you think, when you hear about movement is medicine, keep moving, keep active, keep writing, keep thinking. How do you stay active? You have a fitness background, but what do you do to keep Mike going? Okay.
Well, I did just come from the gym before I did get a nice workout. Don't make me zoom out here. You don't want none of this. I'm a distance runner. I've got some things. I got some things set up. Where are my rings here? I've got some agility rings I set up in the living room, and I do my stuff. It's funny. I have this sliding glass door to the balcony, and across from that, everybody in the main street could see me jumping around and doing my things here. This crazy gringo doing twists and turny thingies. Make sure you're able to be active in your space. In this space, I can't really do much in this home office.
Yeah,
I get the living room to myself, and it's good. It's always moving around. You can't wait till the end of the day and then go to the gym, because the most hazardous. I'll say this: working in an office, and that's why I talked about corporate wellness before. Once we were on shutdown and couldn't leave, we had like a curfew enforced by the military, and I'm like, this is torture. And I said, something? People in an office are on permanent quarantine. And there are company policies that say you are not allowed to get out of your desk. That is torture. It's the kind of thing they do in prisons. Even prison, you get an hour of exercise in the yard. So there's no virtue. And listen, some people think I'm a man-child, and I take that as a compliment. But some people think there's dignity in having no personality. There's dignity in never moving. There's dignity in just being stoic and a statue and just being too angry and gruff because you have no energy. I run up and down stairs. My wife is always laughing at me because I jump down the stairs, I run up the stairs. It's what I do every chance I get. When I was at the Institute, people thought I was nuts. I do not walk stairs, I run them. And people with their heels and their coffee and their phones, like, oh, how ghastly. Like, well, get over it. That's who I am. Always moving.
Yeah. No, that is really good. I had a stroke 4 years ago, and I lived in a 4-story, 55 and older. And I was like going to get on the elevator, and this PT said, hey, what happened? And we had a conversation, and he said, do you ever take the stairs? And I said, no, I never thought about that. And he says, try taking the stairs. Well, the next 2 years, I did stairs up and down, and that really was so good. I built some muscles I never thought were there because I'm going up and down the stairs every day, a couple times during the day. So
Yeah,
it
the fourth
does.
one.
I don't run up them, but I walk up them. So,
Oh, good for
what do
you.
you think? Go ahead.
I was gonna say this is kind of tragic. I had a friend of mine about 15 years ago. We wrestled together in college. He
Yeah.
had an accident. He broke his neck. He's on the mend, but he's still, at the time he was a quad. He had nothing. And I remember he was on the second floor of the hospital. I used to go visit him, and I'd take the stairs. I remember his mom and his girlfriend were there. They were taking the elevator. They have this thing. It's probably the website's probably still there. What would Trevor do? I'm thinking Trevor would not take the elevator. Trevor would. I don't want to admonish the guy's mother, but I'm thinking, why are you taking the elevator? I mean, the least you can do for the guy is take the stairs. But I was thinking, if you can walk and you're surrounded by people who can't, appreciate it, embrace it.
We have so many conveniences that we fall into patterns and habits, and we don't even think about it. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just, but once I started, it was like I didn't take the elevator unless I had so much that I had to carry that I couldn't do it. What do you think when it comes to Lima? Like, I don't know that much about it. What would you share with our audience that is unique and different about Lima that we don't know and would want to know?
I always say beautiful country, okay city, but I love my neighborhood. Now, my parents come from Brooklyn, so does my cousin Renee, who lives near you in Ackworth, Georgia. What everything is the neighborhood. And that's what I have where I live. That's what I love the neighborhood. I didn't realize it back then, but the fact that I know everybody on the street, I know who owns the restaurant on the corner. I'm the godfather to her nephew. The store next door is the grocery store. It's been open since as long as I've been here, and she gave birth to a kid who's now a teenager, and everybody in the neighborhood. They have that real community feel. And we were talking about, it's funny, kids these days, they're more global, they're less local, especially if, I don't know what it's like where you live, like Florida, where my family is, a lot of tract housing and housing developments and HOAs, and people just dread the thought of seeing their neighbors because the neighbor's just going to pass some kind of regulation on them. They don't want to see people. So people know each other. The communities, there's still such thing as a neighborhood here.
That is so powerful. I think, I do a talk on the 4 human drivers, and it's that connection. The second one is that connection and the relationships, and we die 2 years after we lose our connections, our purpose, and we stop growing. And it's built in that we need those relationships, we need those connections. And you're right. So many times you see people, they pull in their driveway, the garage door goes up, they go in, garage door goes down, and you don't see anybody. It's like, and they're just going to work and back, and occasionally you might see them out there. But you're right, we lose that connection with people. How do you compare Brooklyn with the food down in your area? What do you like about the difference in the two?
Well, I'll tell you, first off, I miss the pizza. New York pizza. I didn't spend much time in Brooklyn. Honestly, I come from Long Island, where everybody tries to prove themselves tough by mentioning Brooklyn somehow. It's one of those things. My parents come from Bay Ridge. I don't know if they had to fight for every meal or all that, but it was just they got this tough guy swagger, But Long Island is where people are trying to prove how tough they are for no reason. I call it suburban paradise with jailhouse rules. Meanwhile, Brooklyn is where we used to get stuck in traffic to visit my grandmother's. Visiting my grandmother in Brooklyn, yo. I'm like, all right. So I'm not laying like super claim to Brooklyn, but the pizza and the ethnic food. Listen, you got kosher delis, you got pizza, you got Mediterranean food. So more ethnic food up there, but Peruvian food is something special about it. Everything in Peru comes from Peru. The top restaurants in the world. I actually did a thing about this. I'm a published author. I have 4 pages in a cookbook. I'm not just because I'm a great cook, but I did a profile on Super, the restaurant on the corner. Susana Fernandez, she runs a restaurant called Super. And she said everything comes straight from the farmland to the table. Everything is domestic. So the Restaurant Magazine rates the top 50 restaurants every year. Last year, There was a Japanese Peruvian fusion restaurant here called Maido that was number one. Prior to that, there was another Central restaurant was ranked number one in the world, Virgilio Martinez. So some of the best fine dining cuisine is here, but also just it's really good. If I ever opened up a restaurant in the States, I would call it Peruvian soup. It's just this Peruvian soup, and that ties back. That's another story in itself. A friend of mine is in Puerto Rico. He's like, Mike, there's a Peruvian restaurant down the street. I need to go. What should I get? I was like, man, Peruvian food in Puerto Rico now, huh? I get nothing to myself.
Yeah, there was a place called Viva Chicken. It was Peruvian chicken. Everything was fresh. I took all my friends there, and after they'd leave, they would just tell their friends. I mean, and I had the lady that was a marketing on my podcast, and, we were trying to get them exposure. Then all of a sudden I go there on Sunday after church and it's closed. And I called her up. I said, hey, what happened? This is my favorite restaurant. And they had them up in Charlotte, but they had two in Atlanta, one north in Alpharetta and one in the Kennesaw, Alkworth area. It was so good, but they were company owned and they didn't get enough traction. But you're right. The taste, the freshness. Oh my gosh. Every single person went, they just were blown away by what they serve. What would you say is the cost of living less or the same than what you see in some of the cities in America?
Well, I always say spend souls, make dollars. You get the best. You run a business in dollars or in the States and spend the Peruvian money. Listen, everywhere you go, life costs money. I live in what I call the poor section of the rich area. That on the street corner, I can go to the market. I can get, there's actually a butcher price, cutting up chicken. There's actually like real good produce. I get everything fresh right here. I can walk to a Starbucks. It's a long walk, but I can get there. I can walk to a fancy shopping mall. You can live there is a dollarized economy here. If you want to live in a gated community in $1 million house and go to Starbucks, and it's going to cost you real dollars. So it's 3 to 1. And the exchange rate is 3 something to 1. One soul here buys what $1 buys there in the States. But there is a dollarized economy where everything is 3 times as much, and you're going to need an international salary or a very good job to live that way. It's a little of both.
Yeah. I'll talk. Pardon? What was that?
The property is still very expensive, though. So if you're listening to
that was my next question is like, how do you, because some countries you buy your homes with cash and there's not a mortgage like we have here. What's it like there? Do people buy their homes? Do they rent? Do they do a combination of both? How's the real estate in comparison?
In Lima, there's a lot of condos and apartments being built. I mean, listen, builders are not building single-family homes anymore. Developers are not building single-family. I mean, there's some of that, but it's not like Florida where they'll find acreage, practically a square mile, and just build 500, 200 houses on it and sell them all. They don't do that here, at least not typically. They build apartment complexes. There's a lot of construction here. I told you about the mother-in-law, right? They have some property she bought years ago, like a teacher's co-op. There was nothing here. Now the property's worth a lot, more than I could afford. We built a house. Oh, I know. I'm not going to air that out. They've got some very expensive property right across the street from where I live. And every day I look at the house that we built that we can't live in because she took the property back. Oh, I tell you, we're not here to talk about that. There is some expensive property here. I am worried. Is it? Okay. Property here.
I want to be respectful of your time. So is there something I failed to ask you that you would like to share with our community?
Well, sure. I wouldn't say you failed to ask anything, Pete. This has been an awesome conversation. You give me a chance to rant. I just want you to know, listen, to develop your stories, I've put together a workshop. When is this going to air, by the way? Just wondering.
It's airing right now. We're live.
Right now. Hey, that's right. We're streaming.
We'll go on Spotify later, but yeah, it's LinkedIn, couple Facebooks, and YouTube.
Okay, you got it. Well, as we're watching this, so today is Thursday the 4th. A week from today, in fact, a week from right now, I'll be running a premium workshop that's paid, and that's called Scrap Iron Storytelling Premium Workshop.
Okay.
It's 3 hours where we choose the right stories. But like I said in the beginning, people usually, let me tell you about my childhood. Let me tell you about what happened to me. There are stories that, as a speaking coach, I know I'm working with something awesome when people say, Mike, do people really want to hear about this? Those are the stories that we put into the presentation. How to choose the right stories, how to sequence the conflict properly, and how to do that U-turn. Turn the focus to the audience so they say, oh, he was talking to me the whole time. And that's where Scrap Iron comes in. I don't want to say too much now. So the premium workshop is coming up on the 11th. Now, the fourth Thursday of every month, I run Storytelling for Solopreneurs. It's 1 hour complimentary workshop. We get a little something. And I tell you, people who come in and participate, it's not 10 things you're doing wrong and why you should hire me to fix them. Yeah. We go to breakout rooms because I'm a teacher first. I spend my mornings teaching Peruvian students how to speak English. I spend my days teaching international business owners how to be the best version of themselves. And that's in this workshop. So however we can get those links out there, the complimentary workshop, next one's on the 25th. The premium workshop, $47, is this coming Thursday, the 11th. Either way, I'm here. I'd love to work with your group, your audience. I watched some of these episodes. I'd love to, even if it's the free one. I love to just work with people.
Hey, what we have our school community. We'll take those links and put it with yours so people can not only do it in the time frame you shared, but in the future too, because we like to, each podcast our community does, it's kind of like a flywheel. We keep building relationships. So we want people to connect. We want people to have those relationships and do it in a safe environment. So what would be the one thing that you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
Well, number one, you've got much better lighting than I do. I look like a ghost right now. I've got to work on that.
Hey, I do this for a living. So I should be a tad better. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's something I need to work on. This is killing me. Like, who is that guy? Oh, it's me. Okay. It's just one thing to take away. We talk a lot about how things advance and whether it's technology or how times change. As times, I don't fear. Listen, I like things to stay the way they are. I don't have a cell phone. But don't ever be afraid of progress. You choose not to do the latest trend. Don't do it. Good for you. Stay true to who you are. Don't fear it. Every change is a give and take. Okay, so kids these days, if you think kids are losing one skill, they're gaining another. If you think time goes on, we lose one thing, we gain something. We're losing critical thinking to ChatGPT. Well, you know what? There's a way to beat that. You're worried about kids being on their phones too much. They also have better opportunities to communicate with people we never would have met. You think kids are lazy because the TVs are bigger and the electronics are brighter and the couches are more comfortable. They also have more physical activities because you can roll over and text all day. You could also roll over, hit a David Goggins motivational app in the morning. We're getting more extremes in both ways. So don't resist change when you don't like it, but don't fear it. You want to defeat technology, don't defeat it by forfeit. Accept change, reject what you don't like, don't ever fear it.
I love that. Mike, I want to thank you so much for bringing us a little bit of South America, a little bit of Lima, and just your personality to our community. We appreciate you spending the time. And thanks for shifting, because we were going to do this earlier and you were gracious enough to move the time. So
it gave me some more gym time. I got a good workout in. It was a good time. Good workout.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Mike. Appreciate you being a guest. And thanks so much for being on the show.